Let me quickly introduce the topic for all of you. The topic that we're going to be talking about right now is building for the next billion kids. The future of experiential learning in India. I'm going to be calling up on stage our honorable moderator first, and then I'm going to be calling up on stage our speakers. I request all of them to join me together. To moderate this session, we have with us Ron Crasto, founder, RedFox Mediacorp. A big round of applause for Mr. Crasto, please. Thank you so much as he makes his way to the stage. To join him on stage, we have Hussaine Kesury, Chief Business Officer from Pepperfry, Saumitra Prasad, Chief Marketing Officer from DOMS. We have Rahul Puri, Managing Director, Mukta Arts Limited and Director of Academics, Whistling Woods International. And we have Sriram Ramdas, Founder and Chief Executive Officer, The Little Gym. What a pleasure to have all of you over here. Thank you so much. Do we have Mr. Puri over here? Mr. Rahul Puri, Managing Director, Mukta Arts Limited and Director of Academics, Whistling Woods. Yeah, he's there. A round of applause for Mr. Puri as well, please, as he makes his way to the stage. Thank you so much. Thank you. I request all of you to take your seats. Let's quickly set up the timer and let's get going. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for the time. Today, we are not going to talk about education. We are going to talk about how India's next 500 million kids will actually learn, think, and earn. Okay? For decades, learning has been about marks, memory, and monotony. But the world outside rewards skills, curiosity, and real-world experience. So, question to all the panel here, is experiential learning nice to have or absolutely necessity for India today? Anyone can start. Hussaine.
Honestly, actually, it is a must-have according to me. Getting experiential learning actually helps people and kids specifically to really get in touch with the real world. Right, and that's the reason why I love being at KidZania. My kids have grown up doing various activities. It gives a good sense of what you need to do. For example, at Pepperfry we have a store here. When kids actually assemble furniture, they really understand what goes into assembling or doing up a furniture. The appreciation for the product suddenly changes. When they go out delivering, they realize the challenges that they face within this complex of getting a product delivered so easily. It is not that easy. So experience allows kids to learn, ensure that they are able to, face real life situations. And therefore, I think it's a must. It's not a good to have, it's a must to have.
Rahul?
Yeah, no, I mean, I completely agree with that. I echo that entirely. I think two reasons. I mean, A, I think it's a good thing for young kids to learn by doing rather than just being told what to do. But also, I think that's how kids learn now. The world is shrunk, right? It's shrunk down onto their iPads or their smartphones or whatever it is, right? And so those things that perhaps, when we were kids seemed so far away, so distant, I mean, they're so close to kids today. I mean, if you look at the kinds of games that they play or, and so what you're getting is you're getting a whole sort of set of kids who, that's the way that they learn. That's the way that their brain is wired. So if you give them, a sort of standard classroom where there is a teacher teaching from a board and telling them what to do, that's not going to resonate with them. So if you want to get kids to learn, they have to learn by doing. There's no solution to that. You have to do it.
Saumitra?
Yeah, so we're going to talk about experiential learning in the most amazing place for experiential learning, which is KidZania. Where as he was saying that children here get to experience real life roles. And I'm told in a very developed schooling system, which is Japan, kids are marked present in school if they visit KidZania.
Yeah.
Because they believe that the real learning is when you get to places like KidZania where there is experiential learning. And it's been proven that kids learn or understand far more by doing than by passive listening. And thankfully, a lot of schools have evolved, from our times to today's time, when children get to do things, experience things, and more importantly, enjoy them. And that's where the real learning happens. And we, as a society, I think also are moving. I see parents today are encouraging children to participate, engage in doing activities, rather than in our times when we were only told to study.
Right, right.
So I think the world is moving towards experiential learning, and that's the way to go.
Sriram?
Yeah, actually, I'd like to just start with just setting a stage.
Yeah.
Just think of yourself in a classroom with 30 kids, and they're all 3 years of age. They're all fidgeting. Kids generally learn through movement. And in fact, there's a huge movement in the United States and Western Europe where a lot of things, a lot of subjects are taught through movement. And my area of sort of quasi-expertise is I've been in this space now for 10 years. We represent a brand called The Little Gym, and we teach children gymnastics. You can't do that theoretically, right? And what you'll really find is that the more movement you add to any subject, in fact, there are people who are teaching mathematics through movement, dance through movement, botany through movement, right? Going out and touching the leaves and so on. So I would argue that movement is not an option, it's a necessity for learning.
Fantastic. I think that's very clear that the experience plays a very important role. But tell me one thing, as India has the scale, do they have the enough infrastructure? How do we make experiential learning affordable and scalable, and it's just not meant for the elite? What is your viewpoint of view? Hussaine?
So it's a challenge, and at the same time, it's an opportunity. You can do classroom trainings, and it's being done in scale, right? The challenge is how do you get experiential learning, which is standardized to a great extent, and it needs a complete overall of the way the systems and the education systems are. I think there's already good amount of progress.
Yeah.
The kind of institutes that are now making it mandatory to have experiential learning in the curriculum is something that is taking up. I think what we are not worried about is information. It's all about how you're going to apply it, and there's got to be a close coordination between the corporates, brands, and the education system to be able to build kids so that they are ready for the real world. So some bit of work there.
Yeah.
No, I think it is a challenge, particularly in primary education, formative years. You have large classrooms, lots of students in the classroom, one teacher. It is easier to almost teach by rote, right? I mean, writing on boards, and students are writing things down and trying to. So I think that is an area that that needs reform. Now, you mentioned institutes at a higher level. So when you get into sort of higher technical learning and things like that, yes, lots of institutes have started to move towards more experiential elements in their teaching. And I think the new national education policy that has been introduced actually allows for a lot of that, right? So it allows for a lot of internships, it allows for credits to be given. It also allows for teachers who aren't, PhDs and masters, but have a great deal of practical learning, a great deal of industrial learning to come in and teach students. So I think a lot of progress is being done there. But, at its core, You know, we're talking about foundational education, and that challenge remains because, you know, we have teachers that perhaps are not paid to experiment with the way that they're going to teach. So, you know, you don't have to have a lot of infrastructure to teach, you know, basic maths with, you know, just don't do it on the board. Give them, you know, coins, give them things to count with and stuff like that. You know, again, that idea of movement, touch, feel, you know, those kinds of things that makes that learning much more tangible. It doesn't take a lot of money to do that, but you need a certain kind of teacher who's going to think about the students that are in their class, the kinds of students, the backgrounds that they come from, and then sort of tailor the kind of teaching that they're going to do. That is what requires, I think, a lot of rethinking at that sort of ground level.
Yeah, we know that India has the largest population of school children, about 35 crores or so. And we also know that, you know, there are two segments of Indians. One living in metros, all of us are being here, you know, are the people where school education has evolved and children get to complete their schooling, graduation, post-graduation. And there's a segment where children don't even complete schooling, you know, and I think that's where we're worried about in terms of scale. And the real population lives there. And the only hope and the solution is technology. Today, with the help of technology like digital medium, we are able to reach a lot of people, and people are also learning fast. Both educators and students, both are learning, adapting fast. We also realize as a brand, when we actually cater to the needs of millions of children, how effective is digital media. I think that's the hook we need to hold on to, and if we have to reach that scale. And thankfully, even we see a lot of support from government in that area, making technology affordable to people, and that will be the biggest solution to ensure that we achieve that scale.
Okay. Sriram?
Fully agree. I think there are a couple of things I would like to say. One is that, I mean, we're a premium product. So we've got 500 locations worldwide. We're 37 in India. Even if we are very successful in the next 3 years, we'll get to 200 centers. It doesn't answer your question. And that is, how do you scale it to the mass? I would say using technology is one, and I would argue that the government has a big role to play in this. If you look at Western society, and the reason why they're so conversant with sports and extracurricular activities is the government plays a really important role in building that infrastructure. So I think it's a combination of technology, government intervention, and private players doing their bit.
So this is a tricky question to all of you guys. Today schools are still syllabus driven. As radical minds, tell me one realistic step the school should take for the next 12 months. What would you guys think about? What is something which, that one bold step which could really bring the experiential learning to a degree of closeness and understanding? Sriram, I'll start with you.
Can I be controversial?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you a funny story. I don't know how many of you have heard of this, but Steve Jobs and all the rich guys in California, they send their kids to a particular type of school. It's called the Waldorf School. There are 2 campuses in the Silicon Valley area. You can Google this, and there is no iPad, there are no devices. And so these guys make all this technology, and we're the bakras who are consuming it, right? So I think I'm a huge consumer of technology. There's a time, there's a place for all of this. And I think we're in the middle of a storm right now. And what I mean by that is, over the next 5, 10, 15 years, we'll figure out that maybe the optimum amount of time a child should be in front of a screen is maybe 2 hours or 3 hours. I don't know what the answer is. But it's not 6, 7, 8 hours. And so I would say banning access to digital devices, not computers, at an early stage is critical. Ask any parent and they will tell you that, you know, taking their child away from the device at an early stage and it really affects them. So that's my big suggestion.
Rahul?
I don't know how radical it is, But I think that, a number of years ago there was a program that the government had started, which was a mentoring program, where successful people from different walks of life were going into schools and talking to young kids. I just feel that if a school for 12 months, every week, can invite in people from all different professions, all different walks of life, not just engineers, not just doctors, not just people who are, artists, dancers, performers, sports people, journalists, people who are from all walks of life, get them to come in and get them to engage with kids. I think that would make a profound difference in the way that kids think about their education and think about what they can do with their education. And I think these are two very, very important things. Education is great, but the problem is that a lot of the time, kids don't actually know what they're going to do with it. And I think that if we can start to help them to see what is the point of physics, what is the point of French, what is the point of learning all of this stuff, when, they're sort of being indoctrinated that, well, you're going to be an engineer anyway, so I mean, what's the point? I think if we can learn to broaden students' horizons, young people's horizons, it'll give them a lot more, thought about what they're going to do with their education, and allow them to start to think about their education from their own point of view, rather than from a syllabus or a curriculum's point of view.
Yeah.
Ron, you said, schools are syllabus driven,
Yeah.
but yet schools are different. That's why parents, they want to decide A school versus B school. And talking of a bold step, if the school has to convert their schools to something like KidZania, I would say, where children just love to go. That should be the first thing, because given a choice, children would prefer holidays over going to school.
Yeah.
And I think that if they are able to break by creating their classrooms, just like the studios of different brands here, where children just enjoy learning, I think they would achieve something great for schooling, for education system. And that would be the solution for everything. Ban the exams and all these weekly tests and let children enjoy the education system. And I think that would be one bold step for a year to test out.
Nice. Hussaine?
To a great extent, I'll agree to Puri. A lot of things need to be changed in the way education is done. But, I remember this movie, Hrithik Roshan, I'm forgetting the name, Tees or something. Which was that? Those kids preparing for the IIT entrance. Right. Super 30, yeah, right. That's what we need, right? And so the content is there. I remember going to the chemistry lab, doing those tests, but I did not know why am I doing it, right? So just changing the way of the cause and effect changes the entire learning ability of kids. Had I known that, I can create sparkles from something, my interest levels of doing that lab test would be very different. And I think that switch can bring a lot of changes. It does not require a lot of curriculum change. It needs a more thought change within the education system. Yep.
So that leads me to a question. Rahul, this is for you to start with. What is the biggest bottleneck? Is it mindset? Is it money? Or is it system?
I think the biggest bottleneck is mindset. That needs to be changed. We have a very competitive system, education system. Everything is about marks. And the funny thing, I think, about marks is that parents are the ones that push kids. You must get this, you must get that, you must get this, you must get that. But a lot of the times the parents don't actually know what the student is doing. They're only interested in the marks. You're only interested to get, you must get 97 or 98 or 99. Ask them what they're actually doing in that particular class and, it's blank. So I think mindset is a problem because, and again, mindset comes from the fact that, a huge country with a massive population, and at the end of the day, the filtering policies at every level comes down to these sort of objective, well, how many marks did you get, how many gold stars did you get, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That becomes the filtration policy in ways of people moving up the ladder or moving up the chain. I truly believe that for education to change, that mindset has to change. We have to move away from thinking about everything driven by marks, right? So, you know, nowadays a lot of the international schools are converting themselves to IB and things like that. Now, IB doesn't have exams. I mean, if you look at that curriculum all the way from primary, all the way up until the end of secondary, there are just no exams there. There are assessments, sure, but there are no exams. There are no places where students feel the pressure. And there are also no places where students sit and now can actively compare, right? Which is another big problem with the whole system. This is you start to get these groups, acha, he's smart, he's not smart, and you know, kids start to get left behind because perhaps they're not in, you know, because again, teachers also get recognition from the fact that, you know what, this kid was in my class and he got 100 out of 100 and all that kind of stuff. So I think that mindset is something that needs changing. And for a changed mindset, the other things that you talked about in terms of money and stuff like that, there are those facilities available for somebody that has a truly changed mindset, a revolutionary idea in terms of education.
Sriram?
Fully agree. I think it's mindset. And the way I would like to think about it is, if you draw a spectrum line and you think of, let's just take Bangalore as an example. You've got schools that are your traditional schools that are 50,000, 1 lakh rupees a year. Your middle schools are 4-5 lakhs. And you say some of the international schools are 10 to 15 lakhs a year. And what's really the difference that you can visually see is better facilities and possibly better teachers. But culturally, it's not like there's more competitive sports. And I'm not even talking about sports. Let's say your daughter or son is interested in the arts. It's not like the arts are getting so much better or the music is getting so much better. If you look at the same sort of exposure you would get in a Western society, and you know, we have such a rich tradition of art and music. It's incredible. I mean, whether it's Kathakali or Odissi dance, if your child, for example, I mean, I'm speaking from experience. My daughter is 20 and she's in the US right now. Spent 10 years in dance, but it was outside the school. And so I'm just saying there's so much rich traditions we have in India in non-sport. Even if your child is not interested in sports, that's not really, it's not, we're not playing at level 5 or level 10. We're just, it's superficial, I think. And there's a lot of opportunity there.
Saumitra?
Absolutely. It's a mindset more than anything else. And a mindset of not just the infrastructure, but I would say of the parents of society, which believes that they're all, you know, parents are worried about the children. They believe that if the child is not doing well, which is in terms of not scoring well in the academics, his or her future is endangered. So that's the crux of the problem. And awareness of the parents that there's a lot a child can achieve rather than just the conventional careers, which is still a problem across India today. And right from the primary stage in education boards where there are exams or there are not exams or assessment, they're still worried about how the child is progressing at a very early age. And there's a pressure put on the child to perform. And the parents need to be made more aware about there's a lot to life. First of all, they need to create happy children rather than successful children. That's number one, because that should be the success motto. And there are skills with everyone. And these skills can lead to a very successful life. I think so that needs to be addressed across the society. So I believe that it is the mindset, but the mindset which is in the society, which needs to change, and that's where the problem is.
Hussaine?
Broad consensus, it's the mindset. But I think it's a mix of all three. I would also put it on the system, money and the mindset. mindset begins with parents, obviously, on what you think. And why I talk about money and system is, see, already there are multiple streams that have opened up in the country now. Kids know that they can pursue music, dance, sports, right? Today, but opportunities for them to show up are very limited. IPL is a perfect example. Today, parents are ready to, focus and get their kids to be in cricket. Everybody wants to be a Kohli today. So you are creating idols, you are creating, you know, uh, mentors, you are creating superheroes that, you would like to idealize and become one of them. Uh, Very important is how do we get so many opportunities for various streams that exist. And I can, for example, my nephew is a football coach. Now, as a football coach, what are the opportunities for a football coach in India, right? And till how far can his career go? And therefore, a great amount of uh, system changes, money is flowing into these verticals will help people to come in and really develop. And that's when, we will never then think that my kid has to go to school. There's one financial influencer, Akshat Srivastava. He talks about world school and stuff. He's not sending his kids to any school now. He's just getting them, real life lessons. Now, when such opportunities, when your mindset changes, obviously then it's not education that you look for. You look for other things that are not taught in school or can be taught at home. And that's why I think all three are important.
Okay. So what we now move towards is an individual question related to your company and to your brand. So I would start with you, Hussaine. Today's kids are discovering brands on screen, not in the stores. So how do you create a wow experience without them even physically touching the product first? So what is Pepperfry into, and how do they generally do this?
So great question. And, uh, so we were one of the very first partners with KidZania. Uh, and, you know, what we wanted to the kids to know about Pepperfry even before they got into a stage where they're going to, build their own lifestyle and set up their home. So you need such experiential centers like KidZania where kids can actually interact with your product, with your services. And, for example, I have a colleague over here with me, Riddhi. She used to be, as a kid, she used to come here to play and be part of it. And, it's a good, proud moment that one of the outlet that she used to come here is the company she's working for. And, it sticks around. When kids are involved with doing some stuff, it really helps them to, remember you as a brand. So that's very important. Second is, all my physical stores are actually experience centers. My store team, the home consultants, the store folks, they actually try and engage the kids. So the kid is actually, because when you're coming to shop furniture, you're going to spend almost an hour in the store. And if the kid is not interested, he or she will not allow you to stay longer. So we have specific games at these experience centers. Uh, you know, Physical games. We have our laptops available to them. We keep them engaged all through. So what happens is that one is they definitely remember us when they are in the store. They do not want to go out because they want to continue playing. We are actually also looking at how we can carve out kids area so that they can spend even more time understanding of what things can be done, and mostly experiential, right?
Great.
So for us, that's a very big opportunity to engage with kids because they are also now decision makers, right? You are very even the kid who is like 8, 9 years would want to take a call on what kind of bed they are going to sleep on what study table they want.
Right.
So it's important to engage them.
Fair. Saumitra, next question to you. Kids today are creating content, not just consuming. So how is your brand evolving from being just a product to becoming a part of the creative journey?
Absolutely. So DOMS became popular with our products and innovations we brought about. But we are not just known for our products, but also the content creation and engagement that we bring about. And we started with our YouTube channel, which was created a few years back. And we realized that we have now 3.8 million subscribers, and which is largely because the children are creating content. You know, they're not just consuming content, they're creating content, they're engaging with us. And we see this everywhere in the painting studio. We find it a fascinating experience of children creating such good artwork, and at the same time also participating in creating content which we use in our own communication. And so the problem which we were talking about earlier about parents worried about the future of children, I can tell them that if the children are able to get any career for themselves, there's a huge career opportunity of becoming content creators. You know, kids influencers and later on big influencers, which is the biggest career option for them. We already see a lot of children, aspiring to be kid influencers in our engagement program. So that's a huge opportunity for children.
Nice, nice. Rahul, question for you. With reels and gaming and AI competing for attention, how do you make learning content that kids choose, not something they are forced to watch?
I mean, I think at that age, strangely enough, young kids, they're not as aware of algorithms and all of that kind of stuff. So I think this idea that they're making stuff that they're sort of forced to, when they're very young, I don't think that's a factor at all. In fact, I think that becomes more of a problem when they get older, because then they start to think of market, views, how many people are going to watch it, how much can I sell it for, etc., all of those kinds of things. But when they're young, young kids make stuff that inspires them. They make stuff that they've seen, they make stuff that they enjoy. And I think that a lot of these tools, your reels, your TikToks, all of those kind of things, in a strange way, and look, I'm not saying that they're the greatest things in the world. They're not. But in a strange way, they have allowed kids the ability to be able to really express themselves in different ways. And I think that is something that has to be encouraged. So at Whistling Woods, obviously we deal with kids that are a lot older, right? So 18 years and above. But we do a lot of programs with young kids. We bring them in from, 5 years old or 6 years old, so that they begin to experience learning and begin to experience the visual arts, the creative arts, all of those kinds of things. And you'd be amazed, given what they've learned from Instagram or YouTube or whatever, that they understand a lot more that goes into the content making process than perhaps we give them credit for. So long may that continue.
Great. Sriram, the question to you is for Little Jim. What is the single biggest differentiator your product delivers that a traditional school fundamentally doesn't deliver?
All credit to the founder, is a South African guy. He basically believed, this is 50 years ago, that every child should be physically confident in their body, regardless of what you turn out in life. You could be a lawyer, doctor, engineer. We know for now, for sure, you have one body.
Yeah.
And there's all this evidence subsequently in psychology that says that how you carry yourself physically makes a huge difference in your disposition in life. So I would say so when somebody comes to us and asks us what do, we don't teach gymnastics. That's a byproduct. I mean, that's our core product, but what we tell parents is we use gymnastics to build confidence in children.
Okay.
So that's our USP. And we're a non-competitive space. we're actually, our core program is not for the elite kid. I mean, they're most welcome and they come there as well.
Right.
But it's really for everybody.
Okay. Just 2 minutes. The panel has to say yes or no. I'm going to ask you 5 questions rather. 4 questions. Okay. Experiential learning will replace traditional classroom in next 15 years. Just yes or no?
Yeah, partly.
Partly. Okay. Marks will become irrelevant in hiring. Marks will become irrelevant in hiring.
It depends.
Okay. AI will be a better teacher than humans?
No chance.
No chance. Okay. And the last, India's current education system is outdated.
Broadly, yes.
Only one word to conclude. If you have to sum this up in the whole session, just give us one word and we close this session from all of you. Just one word.
Progressive.
Make your kids move.
Saumitra? Mike? Mike.
Completely agree. Make your kids move and experience.
Okay. Hussaine?
Do stuff differently.
Sorry?
Do stuff differently.
Do stuff differently. Okay, great. Thank you so much. I think I'll sum this up. It was lovely knowing you guys. Really appreciate and thank you very, very much.
Thank you so much. I'll request all of you to please kindly remain on stage. Can we clap a little louder for them, please? And in the meantime, I'm going to be calling up on stage Yazdi Khambata, Director of KidZania India, to please kindly come up on stage and give the token of appreciation to our esteemed speakers over here. A bit of an applause for Mr. Khambata as well, please. Thank you so much. Can we have the token of appreciations on stage? There are a lot of giveaways to be done, from donuts to good memories, so I think it holds a lot of relevance this moment. Thank you so much. Can we have the remaining stuff as well, please? Quickly on stage. Finally, there come the desserts. Mad over donuts. Please don't worry about the calories. Enjoy seamlessly. Can we do a nice group photograph with all of you, please? Ron sir, please join as well.